Welcome to the Lolley Steelers podcast here on DK Pittsburgh Sports Radio. I'm Dale Lolley. I am the Steelers beat writer for DKPittsburghSports.com. This is my 28th year covering the Pittsburgh Steelers. And so, I've covered every single game, every single snap, every single practice snap, essentially, of Ben Roethlisberger's career, the entire thing. And, well, obviously, we're going to talk a lot of Ben Roethlisberger today as he made his announcement this week that this is likely going to be it for him. I know that he hemmed and hawed about it a little bit. He left himself an out. Look, this is it, folks. Ben Roethlisberger is not coming back to the Steelers next year unless they would come back to him and say, hey, we're going to give you 25, 30, $40 million to come back and play again this year. You always leave yourself that out, but it's not happening. This is it for Ben Roethlisberger. So, what do we remember about Ben Roethlisberger? Well, first and foremost, the guy's been a winner over the course of his career. The Steelers have never had a losing season with Ben Roethlisberger as their quarterback. More importantly, if you start looking at Roethlisberger's career in the grand scheme of things, I know that he's fifth in all-time passing yards and eighth in touchdown passes, and all those great individual accolades. But if you ask Roethlisberger which one matters, which stat matters the most to him, it's championships. And I've heard the people out there saying, well, the Steelers wasted Ben Roethlisberger's career. They didn't waste anything. They got the 3 Super Bowls with Ben Roethlisberger as their quarterback. They won 2 Super Bowls. I say they didn't waste it because if you start looking at the number of championships won by quarterbacks, these are the only guys in NFL history. Now we're going back to the 30s here who have won more championships than Ben Roethlisberger. That's Tom Brady with 7, Bart Starr with 5, Sid Luckman with 4, Terry Bradshaw with 4, Joe Montana with 4. Otto Graham had 3, Johnny Unitas 3, Len Dawson 3, Troy Aikman 3. That's it, folks. That's the number of quarterbacks. That's the list of quarterbacks who have won more Super Bowls than Ben Roethlisberger. So, spare me this, well, they should have won more stuff. That's in the entire history of the game. That's not a long list. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer, and it's not even remotely close. And some of the guys on that list, like Sid Luckman in 1940, 41, 43, and 46, I mean, you're going back to ancient history there. In fact, because Luckman wasn't even the main passer on his team back in those days, they didn't necessarily have a quote-unquote quarterback. He's only included on there because he was the quarterback, but he also ran the football a little bit. Same thing with like Sammy Baugh. They were the top passer for their team, and so they had to be marked with an asterisk on this list. That's a pretty exclusive list when you start talking about Brady and Starr, Luckman and Bradshaw, Montana, Graham, Unitas, Dawson, and Aikman. The only guys who have more championships than Ben Roethlisberger. If you want to narrow that down even more, the only players with more Super Bowl wins than Ben Roethlisberger, it's Brady, it's Bradshaw, it's Montana, and Aikman. That's it. That's it. So, this whole argument that he should have won more, come on. You're talking about just a handful of guys who have won more. You're looking at it's just not a very long list in the Super Bowl era. So, I think people sometimes overlook the fact that it's been very difficult. It's difficult to win playoff games. I get it. Everything's measured now against the records of Tom Brady. And Brady's been outstanding. He's been awesome. He's 34-11 all time in the playoffs. He's won 7 Super Bowls. Fantastic, great. He'll go down as the greatest quarterback in NFL history. Whether depending on how you want to look at that, but again, winning is a big part of that. So you look at Brady's 34-11. Can't argue it. But before Brady came along, Joe Montana was the guy. Joe Montana in his career He won 4 Super Bowls, as did Terry Bradshaw. Montana was 16-7 all time in the playoffs. He won 4 Super Bowls. Bradshaw was 14-5 in his career in the playoffs and won 4 Super Bowls. Ben Roethlisberger, he's fourth all time in playoff victories at 13-9. Let's not overlook that fact, folks. It's difficult to win playoff games. The only people in NFL history, the only quarterbacks in NFL history with more playoff wins than Ben Roethlisberger, you're talking Brady, Montana, Bradshaw, Elway, and Peyton Manning. And Peyton Manning got 14 wins in 27 career starts. He was 14-13 in his history in the postseason. Tom Brady has lost 11 postseason games. Roethlisberger's 13-9. He's tied with Brett Favre for the fourth most playoff wins in NFL history. Favre's 13-11 in his career. He won 1 Super Bowl. 1. So, I think people get carried away with this whole the Steelers wasted years of Ben Roethlisberger's career. I just don't believe that that's true. Elway won 2 Super Bowls. Peyton Manning won 2 Super Bowls. Roethlisberger won 2 Super Bowls. Roger Staubach won 2 Super Bowls. Guys like Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, Kurt Warner, Russell Wilson, they won 1 Super Bowl. Drew Brees won 1 Super Bowl. Jim Kelly never won a Super Bowl. Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl. So let's not pretend that the Steelers didn't have a great deal of success with Ben Roethlisberger as their quarterback over the past nearly 2 decades. It's been a great run. They haven't had a losing season since 2003. They still have an opportunity to avoid that this year. Oh, and by the way, get into the playoffs. That's what it's all about. It's all about winning. And, if you ask Ben Roethlisberger, he'll tell you 100 times out of 100, that's what it's always been about for him. And that's, to me, is what I'll always take away from Roethlisberger. He is a ridiculous competitor. He's been just a tremendously gifted athlete. I think he's one of the top 10 best throwers of the football in NFL history in terms of arm strength, accuracy, all those things that go along with that. And he's going to be remembered for a long time as one of the best quarterbacks in NFL history. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Period. Those don't come along too often. In fact, the Steelers in their history have only had 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks actually on their roster. They've had a couple others who had a cup of coffee there and then they made mistakes and traded them away. But you're talking about Bradshaw, you're talking about Bobby Lane, and you're talking about Roethlisberger. That's in over 80 years of history of a team. So, enjoy this for what it is. Celebrate everything that he did, everything he accomplished in his career. Have the last 10 years been great? No, but they've always been competitive. They've always been in the mix. You're not going to win every year. It's certainly, if Tom Brady's not around, if he doesn't play in the same era as Tom Brady, the same era as Peyton Manning, some of these other guys that have been out there, the Drew Breeses and the Aaron Rodgers and guys of that nature, he probably has at least 1 more, maybe 2 more Super Bowls. But this is the era that he played in. Period. I mean, that's the reality of the situation. So, again, enjoy Roethlisberger's career, for what it's been. It's been a great ride. We wish him well. He's not going anywhere either, folks. He lives in Pittsburgh. He's a Pittsburgher through and through. His family, he's moved his extended family here. His wife is from Pittsburgh. The kids are in school in Pittsburgh. They're not going anywhere. Ben Roethlisberger will be around. And so it'll be fun to watch him, grow old. He's going to be 40 years old in the spring. It seems strange to talk about a guy retiring from his job at that age, but he's made a lot of money. He deserves to go out the way he has. He's led this team to a lot of wins over the years, and we'll always appreciate that. But anyways, I'm going to take a break. We'll be back in the second segment here with picks of this week's games. We'll do that right after this. You're listening to the Lolley Steelers podcast here on DK Sports Radio. Welcome back to DK Pittsburgh Sports Radio. I'm Dale Lolley here on the Lolley Steelers podcast, and we're going to go through this week's game picks. Obviously, the Steelers playing the Browns on Monday night, so we'll pick that one last, as we typically would and would do anyways with the Monday night game. Looking here at the other games in the on the slate, this is a great week of NFL football. There's only one team in the AFC in Week 17 that has clinched a playoff spot. It's unbelievable. I don't ever remember that happening before. Obviously, with the 17th game this year, there's an extra week, but I can't remember a season in which, going into the next to last week of the season, there had only been one team in the conference that has clinched a playoff spot. That team is the first game we're going to pick here today. It's Kansas City Chiefs playing the Cincinnati Bengals. The Steelers, of course, need the Bengals to lose. Then they need to beat the Browns to have their game in Week 18 against Baltimore be meaningful. The division title is on the line. And, I think the Chiefs get it done here. Kansas City, a 5.5-point favorite in this game. I think that they win. I think they probably cover. I don't know if the Bengals are quite ready for this kind of game. I think they're better, obviously, than they have been. They're 9-6. But I just don't know that they're ready for this kind of game. And, well, quite frankly, every other time they've beaten the Steelers or they've beaten the Ravens, they've not played well the next week. And, last week they just beat the Ravens. So I expect them to lose this game to the Kansas City Chiefs. Going to the next game here, you got the 8-7 Ravens hosting the 11-4 Rams. The Rams favored by 4. I'm not quite sure why that spread. I've seen it a little bit higher earlier in the week. Lamar Jackson's not going to play in this game. The Ravens have no healthy corners of note. They've gone to just doubling every wide receiver on the field. I don't think it matters. They can't stop anybody from throwing the football. I'll take the Rams all day in this one, even on the road. So I think that the Ravens lose their 5th consecutive game and fall to 8-8 heading into that matchup next week against the Steelers. Got the Bills hosting the Falcons. The Bills coming in at 9-6. The Falcons coming in at somehow they're 7. Well, I know that why they're 7-8. Their 7 wins are the weakest 7 wins I think I've ever seen for an NFL team. And I think the Bills are clinch a playoff spot with this one. They beat the Falcons at home. Should be weather, and the Falcons being a dome team won't know how to handle that kind of situation. Plus, the Bills are just a better team. You get the Raiders at 8-7 at the Colts 9-6. Steeler fans should be hoping that the Colts win this one. You don't want the Raiders winning it. It doesn't really necessarily matter. If the Raiders win, it does, leave the Colts sitting there with 9 wins, and potentially the Steelers can get to 9 and beat them out because they would have 9.5. But in the grand scheme of things, eliminate the Raiders, get them out of the picture. I think the Colts win this football game. They're at home. The Raiders, I just don't know that they're a very good football team. I think they get this one. I think they take care of this one. You got the Dolphins at 8-7 at the Titans 10-5. Titans can wrap up the AFC South with a victory. The Dolphins red hot, 7 straight wins. They're also the only team to have 7 straight losses, along with the 7 straight game winning streak in the same season. There's a reason for that. They're not all that good of a team. That winning streak for the Dolphins has been, it's been propped up by playing the Jets a couple of times, the Texans, the Giants, the Falcons. They played some real garbage, to Jaguars, and beaten those teams. Good for them. They gotten back to 8-7 after a 1-7 start. I think the Titans take care of business in this one, win the AFC South at 11-5, and move on, probably eliminating the Dolphins from playoff contention. This next game won't even be all that competitive. You got the Buccaneers 11-4 at the Jets 4-11. I'll take the Buccaneers all day long in that one. Not really much to think about there. Jaguars 2-13 at the Patriots 9-6. Again, schedule. It matters so much in the NFL. The Patriots take care of business here after losing their last 2 games. They get the 10 wins and clinch a playoff spot. I believe that should clinch a playoff spot for them. They should rout the Jaguars, who just aren't very good right now, to do that. The Eagles at 8-7 are at Washington 6-9. It was just a couple of weeks ago that these two teams were equals, and both being talked about as potential wild cards in the NFC. Well, that's fallen by the wayside with COVID and injuries just devastating Washington's roster. I like the Eagles to win that one and move to 9-7 and get a little closer to clinching a playoff spot for them. They've had their struggles this year, but they should be able to beat a bad Washington team. Speaking of bad teams, you got the Giants at 4-11, at the Bears at 5-10. I will, without a doubt, take the. I'm going to take the Bears in this game. I think the Giants are a mess right now. I just don't see them beating the Giants or beating the Bears. I don't see the Bears losing to the Giants. They're just a better football team right now. The defense is way better. Giants all banged up on offense. You got the Broncos at 7-8, at the Chargers 8-7. The Broncos have all kinds of COVID issues. They beat the Chargers earlier this season and did so convincingly. But I just think that with Denver's issues right now with COVID, injuries, all that other stuff, I think the Chargers win this one. They get to 9-7. The Texans at 4-11, coming off a big win over those Chargers, are now at the 49ers, 8-7. That's a 4:05 game. Can the Texans play spoiler again this week? I don't think so, although we'll see Trey Lance at quarterback for the 49ers, see what the rookie can do against that Texans defense, which actually isn't bad, but I think that the 49ers probably win that game and they get to their 9th win. The Cardinals at 10-5 are at the Cowboys, 11-4. This is the 4:25 game on Fox, the marquee matchup. The Cardinals have not played well of late. The Cowboys have played sporadically. They've been a little up and down, but I like the Cowboys to win this game and win their 12th game of the season against the fading Cardinals. At 4:25, there's another matchup here. I don't know why this game is at 4:25 because nobody's going to watch it. But you get the 5-10 Panthers at the 7-8 Saints. Taysom Hill back at quarterback for the Saints. They still have a shot to get into the playoffs if they can win out and have the Eagles and 49ers stumble here. I like the Saints in this one. Their defense should control Carolina's offense. Sam Darnold back at quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. Another 4:25 game. Ugh. The 2-12-1 Lions at the 5-10 Seahawks. I guess I'll take the Seahawks in this one. Doesn't look like Jared Goff is going to play for the Lions. The Seahawks are not a good football team, but they should have enough to get past Detroit. At 8:20, you got the 7-8 Vikings at the 12-3 Packers. The Vikings beat the Packers earlier this season. They need a win to stay alive in the NFC playoff race. At 7-8, it's going to be about 6 degrees in Green Bay on Sunday night. And oh, by the way, Kirk Cousins out of that game for the Vikings with COVID. I'll take the Packers all day long in that one, which brings us to Monday night's game between the 7-8 Browns at the 7-1 Steelers. This will be Ben Roethlisberger's final regular season home game with the Steelers. They've got some COVID issues of their own, particularly at linebacker. We should get Devin Bush back for this game, and you'd be looking forward to that. Imagine that, folks. You wouldn't have been thinking that. But if it becomes a situation, would you rather see Devin Bush out there, or would you rather see Marcus Allen trying to tackle Nick Chubb all night long? I think the Steelers' offense is way better than that of the Browns. Imagine that. I didn't think anybody would ever say that, but over the last 10 games, the Browns averaging 16.1 points per game. The Steelers are at 20 points per game. The Steelers have the more balanced and better offense. I'll take the Steelers in this one. Myles Garrett banged up as well. I think that matters. I think the Steelers win this one 20-7 and get to 8-7-1, giving them a chance to win the AFC North in Week 18. If the Browns can then beat the Cincinnati Bengals at home and the Steelers can win at Baltimore, it could happen. We'll see. That's why they play the games. But that's going to do it here for the Lolley-Carter Steelers podcast. I appreciate you listening. You can like the show, share it on Spotify or however you listen to your show. Give us a 5-star review, do all that good stuff. We love it when you do that. We appreciate you listening as always. But I'll talk to you with Dejan Kovacevic on Monday night after the game. We'll see how it goes, and we'll see where the Steelers are when everything shakes out right after that. But thanks for listening to the Lolley Steelers podcast. I'm Dale Lolley. We'll talk to you later.